Hello, my name is Henry Hoffman. I'm from London and my game is called Splitscreen. So in Splitscreen, you play as a private detective in Neo-Moscow, and you've got in trouble with the KGB, and you, after a series of sort of bombings in the city, you start to question your own relationship with the government, and you become very kind of introspective. And the game is kind of about introspection and worlds within worlds within worlds. The idea behind the game Splitscreen was that it subverts the player's expectation of a traditional split-screen game. So split screens are usually used for multiplayer games, and I really like the idea of utilising that same sort of player expectation, but then completely subverting it. So these interconnected worlds were actually a single-player experience where you're playing multiple characters simultaneously, but you can like bring objects in and out of these worlds. But what I found very quickly within the first week of Stugan was that looking at 4 screens simultaneously while playing a game is like exhausting, and there's just like an overload of visual noise. So what I did is I took the core game mechanic, which is pulling things out of worlds into new worlds, and in order to make it more broadly accessible, I changed it so that you can go into different worlds through images that are embedded in a 3D environment, rather than looking at loads of images at once. So the core mechanic is about a world inside a world inside a world that kind of infinitely recurses around on itself. And in order to kind of realize that as a game mechanic, I had to kind of break a lot of what the engine expects. Like loading the same scene over and over again into a single scene is just something that game engines aren't necessarily designed to do. So I've run into huge amounts of sort of technical problems just getting the core mechanic up and running. But once it was working, it's actually been fairly smooth sailing. The core mechanic is quite easy to understand, so building out puzzles from that core mechanic has been fairly straightforward. Now the challenge, I think, is being able to extend it into a full game. I think it works within quite a short space of time, but being able to make an infinitely recursing world last for like a 3 or 4 hour experience, that's going to be the next big challenge. I think one of the most popular examples of recursion is the Russian doll. So I ended up doing a lot of research into like the creators of the Russian doll, and I was originally going to base the game in kind of America, 80s Neo-America, but there's another game that I'm not going to mention that is very similar to that in terms of like sitting in front of your room using your computer in like an 80s American setting. So in order to differentiate myself and draw on some of those sort of popular culture references, and I think like Russia hasn't really been explored, and I'd love to go to Russia after Stugan to explore it and hopefully let it inform the game as well. So you can find me in the next few months, maybe on the Trans-Siberian Express, but if you can't get to Russia, you can track me down on Twitter @Henry Hoffman.